Anti-Semitic attacks have been an increasing concern over the past few years, from high-profile attacks like at the Tree of Life synagogue in Pittsburgh, where 11 worshipers were murdered, to the synagogue in Poway, California, where one woman was shot and killed. There were more than 1,800 attacks and incidents of assault, harassment, vandalism that were categorized as anti-Semitic in 2018, according to the Anti-Defamation League. 144 of those were here in Massachusetts. This, of course, was the year after neo-Nazis in Charlottesville marched and chanted, "Jews will not replace us." Now, 2019 isn't shaping up to look that much better, with stories of swastikas drawn on a school desk in Newton, anti-Semitic flyers left in book swap bins in the same town, and vandalism at a Jewish cemetery in Fall River. Then last month, the homes of two rabbis, which also serve as Jewish community centers, were set on fire, one of them twice. Authorities are still investigating whether the incidents are connected. Both join me now. Rabbi Avi Bukiet is from the Chabad Center for Jewish Life in Arlington. It's good to meet you. Thank you for being here.
Good to meet you,
and Rabbi Mendy Krinsky is from the Chabad Jewish Center in Needham. It's good to meet you, too. Can you briefly describe what happened at your house?
So what happened was on two separate occasions in the same week. It first was on a Saturday evening. Late at night, there was a fire that was set to our house that was very quickly determined to be an arson attack. And then around 5 evenings later, on May 16th, the same attack happened at the same time, at the same place of our center.
And you have 3 young kids living at home. Do you
We have
not?
3 young
6, 4,
kids.
and 2, I
Correct.
think I read in the Globe. And Rabbi, on that same night, the second night, fire at your place as well in Needham, correct?
Yeah.
What happened?
Thursday night, it was almost 10 o'clock. Smelled some smoke and started to look around and see the house is on fire.
You're saying it very matter-of-factly.
Well, I said it many times, but it was very shocking.
You have 5 kids at home. Did I read that
I have
correctly?
8 children, 5 were at home at the time.
You know, obviously, to a layperson, it's hard not to suggest there's a connection, not just the anti-Semitism, but both of second fire and your fire happening on the same night. Have authorities reached any conclusions on that issue yet, or have they not?
Not that I know of.
Have you reached a conclusion on that issue?
I'm not 100% sure, but it sounds likely to me.
How about you?
It's what our instincts are telling us, that this is something that was done intentionally because we are a Center for Jewish Life. Obviously, the motive behind the attack, we don't know. We can't say categorically yet.
Are you scared?
No.
Are you scared?
No.
Why not?
No, our Chabad centers are open under the inspiration of the Rabbi Arson, who taught us and mentored us in how to deal with adversity. And he always said to always channel it into something positive, and always utilize it as a catalyst to something good.
Do you live in that same spirit?
Absolutely.
Is it hard after these circumstances you described to honor that spirit?
It's a moment of adversity, there's no doubt. As a human being, I feel for my family, I feel for my community, but I remain strong.
How old are the 5 kids who are home? What's the range?
Oldest is 14, the youngest is 6.
What have you said to those kids about what happened and about the future in their home?
That it's going to be good. We're increasing our security, and we're not really worried. We're more vigilant, but
are they worried?
It doesn't seem that way.
And your kids are young, so
They're
have
young.
you talked to them about it?
They're
or have
young.
you not?
My oldest I've spoken to, and I've told her explicitly, listen, most people in this world and in our community are good people.
And by the way, we should say huge outpourings from both of your communities.
Amazing.
After the fact, which is really heartening, to say at least hundreds of people at both of your places. Why do you think now, I mean, these numbers that I cited at the beginning are shocking, or at least they're shocking to me, and the growth in numbers is alarming. Why do you think this is happening now, Rabbi?
I believe it's happening now because as a society, we are not allowing for our society, for our children, our youth, to have more moments of internal reflection on what their purpose in this world is. And when we don't allow, when there's too much noise on the outside, it creates a jaded society, a jaded generation.
And why is that jaded generation, in part at least, taking it out on people like you, would you say?
Anti-Semitism is not something new, Jim. I think this is something that's been going back since the beginning of time, beginning of society.
What do you think? You know, I mentioned at the top that incredible moments in Charlottesville, and as horrifying as that was, there was obviously a comment by our president that people are still talking about. In fact, we have that. This is August 16th of 2017, and Donald Trump's reaction in part to what happened in Charlottesville. Here it is.
You also had people that were very fine people on both sides. I think there's blame on both sides, and I have no doubt about it.
Does that help create an environment in which things like what happened to you and to other people around the country are more likely to happen, Rabbi?
I have no idea. I mean, I think this. I don't want to get into the politics of this.
Well, I don't think it's even politics. This is a man who's a very powerful person. I don't think, to me, it's not a political issue. Of course, I'm not the victim of this. It's somebody who's got a lot of power saying that people who do things like chant, "Jews shall not replace us," they're fine. I assume that he means they're fine people amongst them. They're not fine people to me.
I don't really have much to say.
What's your reaction to? Does that contribute to the?
I don't want to say categorically if it contributes, Jim, but I want to say that our leaders as a whole need to step up and speak out.
What would that mean? What should they do? I mean, I assume that most people, not all, in positions of leadership. I mean, most important, I think, is your fellow community members, which, even though I don't live in either of these communities, is really heartening to me.
Right.
What should they do? I mean, words are so cheap. It's sort of like the thoughts and prayers after shooting. What are the actions leaders should take to ensure that this is a more tolerant society, not just for you two and your families?
Yeah, so we tell our Jewish community, we talk about a mitzvah, which a mitzvah means a good deed, a good action, doing good for others. And as a society as a whole, to all people, Jews, non-Jews alike, we have to act upon what we think. And it's the silent majority. The silent majority needs to become the louder majority.
Do you feel, you mentioned that security, you felt the need to increase some security. I know you said in the Globe. You didn't want to detail. There's another rabbi who I'm sure you've read about. I believe his name is Rodkin from Brighton, who has talked about how he's going to arm himself, how he's urging members of his synagogue to arm themselves. Is that going too far, or is that?
I think security measures have to be dealt with in a very smart way. They have to be done. Not everything has to be said, or certain things should be kept, a little bit behind the scenes.
But can you imagine a circumstance where you tell people in your synagogue in your community to arm themselves to protect themselves from this kind of act of hate?
I'd rather the police take care of that.
Are you in the same boat there?
No, I think I would give people their choice, their rights. If they want to arm themselves, would I openly, like Rabbi Krinsky said, would I openly tell my community to arm themselves? No. But behind the scenes, behind the closed doors, we are definitely taking better precautions.
One of the most troubling things of this whole episode, in addition to obviously the underlying acts, which I hope horrify anybody watching the show, in the piece by Deanna Pan in the Boston Globe, it ends with a quote from you that was so distressing to me, and I'll read it if I can. At the end of the day, I don't think we can do anything about anti-Semitism. I think it's part of our destiny. It's part of who we are. It's time and time again, each generation, even when you get comfortable, something happens, and it's just the reality of what it means to be a Jew.
Sadly, the reporter left out the second half of that statement.
What was the second half of that statement?
The second half of that statement was that what we could do is focus on ourselves, our family, and our community. To think about anti-Semitism as a whole, I think that's something that is so deep and so vast, it almost keeps your hands tied. But if you're able to focus on your community, and then from your community it goes outwards to the greater community, slowly but surely you'll be able to, one by one, be able to transform the way people think and people's baseless hatreds, be able to take that out and educate people.
Do you share that hope,
mentioned.
Rabbi?
I think I agree, and I would add to that, the response should be to grow from it and to respond by being more proud of who you are. For Jews, it would be to wear a yarmulke if you don't wear a kippah. Or to be more, in other words, don't let that stop you or slow you down. It should be a catalyst for growth.
Yeah.
I
admire you both. It's very good to meet you. I wish you both lots of luck.
Thank
Good
you.
to see you both.
Thank you, Jim.
Rabbi, thank you both, gentlemen.